Hello and thank you for joining us on the Monday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Benga Oreshegun. Today on the program, 2.053 million registered voters to participate in Ondo governorship elections. IGP withdraws policemen from Rivers local government secretariats after 3-month siege as Governor Fubara's proxy party APP sweeps Rivers Council polls. And later on the show, fire engulfs Kano textile market, destroys goods worth millions. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Adewale Adewi. Journalist Hangout starts right now. Now let's begin the conversation. The countdown to the November 16 governorship elections in Ondo State is on. With about a month to go, political parties and their candidates are intensifying campaigns with the state's highest political seats. Now, according to the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC, a total of 2.053 million registered voters will participate in the election. The resident electoral commissioner in the state, Oluwatoyin Babalala, noted that 50.36% of the registered voters are men, while 49.64% are women. The distribution of the permanent voter cards PVCs is expected to begin soon. Now let's bring the conversation home. BK, as usual, I start with you. The countdown to the Ondo governorship elections has begun. And according to that script there, 2.053 million registered voters are set to participate. BK, what should we expect?
Yeah, I'm impressed with the numbers, but I'm cautiously optimistic because sometimes statistics do not say everything. Statistics can even sometimes be misleading.
Okay.
Based on the facts that the electoral body has provided, 1,034,000 of these registered voters are male. And that accounts for 50.36% of the registered voters. And the women are 1.019. So, and that's 49.64%. But I won't be surprised if we go by the trend over the years. I won't be surprised if women outvote men.
Okay, the turnout, more women will come out.
Yes, women are much easier to mobilize for elections than men.
Oh, really?
Yes. Even in northern, women are more, except in places that are volatile in nature, in places where violence is usually the order of the day. Women usually exercise their franchise, they come out in good numbers. Again, the rec said 35.41% of the registered voters, which translates to 726,944, are youth, while 721,982 were middle age. That's 35.17. The young people in our country account for about 70% of the population.
Sure.
But a good number of them are political. They do not show interest in political matters. So you will find that in our elections, the elderly people come out in more impressive numbers than young people. Last election, Obi galvanized a lot of young people because his message resonated with a good number of those young people who wanted change, who saw Obi as being different to the the politicians that they had become accustomed to over the years. But overall, the more elderly people still came out and outvoted the young people. The young people have strength in numbers, but the problem is they do not exploit it.
They don't exploit it.
They do not exploit it. And during a lecture that I gave at INEC sometime in 2022, I told them that today's big politicians that you called the old guard, they actually started very young. They started very young. Look at even Mandela. Mandela started fighting for his people very young. Yes. People like Bola Ige, they were in their 20s when they were already very active politically. True. People like Sule Lamido, they were in their early 20s when they were already very active. He was even in the House of Reps and he was in his 20s. But things have changed. Our young people need to show more interest in political matters. They should look at what is happening in South Africa, for example, where the vice-like grip that the ANC had on political matters in that country has been loosened.
Exactly.
I have been talking about what was happening in South Africa for a few years. I recall that at Nelson Mandela Bay, where some of the biggest pro-freedom activists were born, the anti-apartheid heroes. ANC lost election there. The municipal election that was held, ANC lost election there some years back. I think about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. That was a signal to me that things were changing, and that if people were determined, they can actually change the established way. I mean, change the narrative. You know, this is what I expect our young people to be doing. They should push harder, get more involved, join the political parties, field candidates, raise money, field candidates, and use their numbers.
I hope the distraction would not. Distraction of social media, distraction of other things.
But you see, social media is a good tool. It can even help you to do well in an election. But you must show more than a passing interest. It's not enough to just be condemning politicians, accusing them of badly managing the country. You have to show interest in even running for election and determining who gets to govern you. That is what they are not doing enough. And it begins even from school. You see, in America, they begin to train people about leadership, even at a young age. You see mock National Assembly, mock this, mock that. So the children already get familiar with how they run the National Assembly, the way the speaker acts, the way they raise their hands to move motions and all that.
Should act like that. But right now, student unionism, like student union president, the way the politics there is...
It's like for a lot of the student union leaders to get out of school.
They are bad.
That is the thing. But they need to get interested in it. They need to contest elective positions.
Well, let's bring the conversation to you. We all saw the events that surrounded the last off-cycle election in Ondo State. And what kind of situation are we likely to be faced with on the 16th of November? And also, what will be the implication in terms of the interest of the Ondo people?
Well, I think, first of all, that this election is coming 4 years after. It's a confirmation of the position of many of us that democracy is superior to any other form of government. No matter the imperfections, the people always have an opportunity to choose between a variety of aspirants. We are talking about between 16 to 19 political parties that are contesting. So these people have the opportunity to say, okay, look, we want to change our leaders. So to a large extent, we have we have a significant role to play in determining our future. 35% of youths who are going to vote in this election, 726,000. Then 35% of middle-aged, yes, 721,000. It shows that, you know, middle-aged probably 50 downwards, you know. It shows that we just have about 30% who are elderly and, you know, and all that. So we can seize our future, take it by, you know, with our two hands and determine what we want for ourselves. It also shows that democracy is in progress. It's not a perfect system, but we are making progress. And I think I'm impressed by the turnout. Those who have registered, 2.something million out of about 5.3 million of the entire population. So almost 50% of the entire population are registered voters. But what usually is covered is that on voting day, it does not reflect.
Problem.
You know, some people just collect these PVC for one thing or the other. Maybe because they are civil servants, they think that they need it for banks and lots of, even for us, ID card. So it shows that there is a population, the undecided population, that if politicians are serious, they can harvest that population. True. But most of the time, what usually happens is that APC members will go and vote for their members, PDP, but there's always a large population of undecided
voters.
What has been happening is that our political parties are not consistent, they are not determined. If they are determined, just like Babangida has said, they can change that narrative. So we hope that there's going to be free and fair election. I think it's not going to be as chaotic as what we had in Edo State, because the parties, when you are talking of internal contradiction, it's not as sharp as what we have, you know, in Edo State. You know, the two parties.
The incumbent will be on the ballot.
Yeah, the two parties are going there with some level of strength. APC, for instance, there's not much, crisis. You know, no crisis. You know, so I think fairly we are going to have. But it's also significant to know that the APC candidate is from Ilage, and it's going to be the first time that oil producing, you know, community will be having good opportunity to produce while the other candidates from the Riverina area. So I think we wait to see INEC conduct free and fair election, and at the end of the day, let the will of the people prevail.
All right, Bike, we saw what happened in Edo State a couple of weeks ago, and some of the errors that happened, all the back and forth. But let's look at the electoral umpire now. If you're to advise INEC, judging by what played out in Edo State, what will you be telling the electoral umpire?
Well, some of those hiccups that we witnessed in the last election, I don't expect to see them. Get those ballot materials to the polling centers in good time. Sort out your issues with the NURTW, who help you to move
logistics.
Yes, from point to point. Sort things out with them in good time.
Good time.
I expect this election to be better organized because what happened in Ondo State
should be like
have picked up valuable lessons from what happened. Yes, and when you say that you are restricting the movement of people on election day, it should be extended to everybody. Not that some big politicians will fly into town that same day and will be seen moving around. It doesn't give the feeling of even-handedness when you allow that to happen. Doesn't, and the overzealousness also on the part of security operatives should be toned down. You don't have to stop journalists who are doing their work from moving around. They need to move around. The situation in which you don't even want to hear any explanation, you just stop people from moving around. You know, you stop people whose duty it is to cover the election, to monitor the election. You just have to stop that. Then, the issue of IREV, if you want to post results, yes, post results, but people don't want to see differences in what you posted
and what you announced.
But people also don't know that such things would always happen. You know why it will always happen?
Why?
Those results are posted before the returning officers decide whether there was no, whether there was violence.
Okay, violence in some places. Okay.
So you notice that I not bear in mind cancelled ballots.
Okay.
So what usually happens when they get to the collation center, the returning officer will announce that in so places balloting was characterized by violence. And for that reason we cancelled. So when they cancel in such a way, you do not expect the result of what was earlier posted. So what is posted, everybody has that. Okay. But where there is violence or the overvoting, where overvoting happens, the regulation is that you should cancel. The rule is that you should cancel. Okay. All of these things, the ordinary voter will not know. So things can actually change. The situation can change between the polling center and the collation center. So it's one of the reasons those things don't tally. But we still need a high level of transparency. Like otherwise, people won't have faith in the system. Yes, there's a lot of voter education that our parties need to do. Everybody expects INEC to do everything. No. Sure. The political parties need to do a lot of voter education. Like council ballots sometimes will be, when they fold before the thing gets dry, it will smear some columns and then it becomes void. So they need to tell their people, once you have turn printed, you wait a little bit for it to dry before you fold it.
All right then. All right, let's move straight to our second conversation. It is said in politics that power is never given, it is taken, and those who wield it must prove they can keep